Hi, welcome back to CS170 spring session. As you recall from the extra credit I put out there, I asked you to send me some questions about what will be coming up for exam 2 that you might have some questions on. So one common question that came up was talking about arrays and loops. So what I did here was I set up, number one, I set up two different ways you can define and initialize an array. So here you have the cars array, which I pretty much just said, here's the cars, and then I put in like the three values. So that basically set up an array with three elements in there. For boats, kind of did the same thing, but I kind of called it as a new array. And then I put the elements in like this. I could have just said the new array with the size and then put in the elements separately. So I could say something like, boats 0 equals boat, like that. So I could have done something like that. So there's a couple of different ways you can put values into the array, but these are pretty much the common ones here. So then within the for loop, number one, you notice that I started off with 0 here. Then I did the endpoint, which I would say is the cars.length, which is the length of the array or how many elements are going to be in the array. And since I start off with 0, then I make sure the I, which is the counter, is less than the car's length. Okay. And then here I could have done I++. In this case, I just chose to do I equals to I plus 1. Okay. And then within here, you did the document write. I did the I just to show each of the elements as I'm looping through in the loop. And then I did the display of what each element of the array is. Okay, and then I just did a couple of carriage returns here for the document, right? And notice I did all of this within the script, right? So as you know, when you do stuff in HTML versus doing stuff in JavaScript, there's different ways to get inputs and send some outputs here. When you do this document right, you're essentially writing out HTML, okay? So these are the carriage returns, and then I did the for loop, same format as I did for the cars. And then I print out all the elements of boats. So let's see what happens when I did that. So here on the right-hand side, you can see here's like 0, 1, and 2. That's going for each of the buckets within the array. Car A, car B, car C, which is what you have here. And then the boat test, which is, you can see that's what I assigned to the first bucket of boats. And then I printed that out here, okay? So hopefully that gives you a clear idea of number one, how to define or declare arrays and how to populate different values within that. You can do it like this, like I did in these first two lines, or you can just put in a number here to say how many buckets you have, and then assign each one individually like that. If you want to get fancy, you can also do it within a for loop to populate each of the elements of the array. In this case, I did the for loops to display each of the elements of the array. So that kind of goes through like that. Make sure you remember on these loops, this is like the standard, very common way of doing it, but you can do all kinds of stuff in here, just like I showed you in the lecture, right? I don't have to start off at 0. I could have started off at 1. I could start off at 2, 3, whatever. So it's all kinds of things you can do off of here. So don't go by, just the standard stuff here. I don't have to go j equals to j plus 1. I could have started off with a high number here, and then I could do a countdown. I could go j equals to j minus 1, but then I better make sure I don't go into an infinite loop. So I better say something like j is greater than or equal to 0. Right? So if I start off from the high number and then work my way down, well, actually, this should be a 2, something like that. So var j equals to 2, work my way down, j equals to j minus 1. Let's see how that runs. Oops, where am I? Oops. Let's see. Comment there. Should be good now. Now I run it. Okay, so you can see I counted down now. I went from boat C to boat B to boat test because I started at the high number and worked my way down. Okay, so it's all kinds of different ways you can play around with these three statements in here. Okay, so be wary of that. So hopefully this is a quick little refresher on arrays and loops. Okay, thank you.